And we are live. Hello, one and all, and welcome to my review for last night's edition, the November 28th, 2016 edition of Monday Night Raw. We're going to take a look at everything that took place on this episode of Raw. We're going to break it all down for you here, and I'll give you my full thoughts and opinions. So, guys, thank you for joining me for this live review. We certainly have a lot to talk about coming off of last night's edition of Raw. My overall thoughts on the show last night, I have to say that, once again, back-to-back weeks, I, for the most part, enjoyed Raw. It's nice to finally be able to say that. Everything was not, great or perfect on the show. I liked what I saw for the most part. I thought we got some solid build heading into the Roadblock pay-per-view. Now, there's a couple issues that I have with the upcoming, particularly the main event of that show, but we'll get into that later on in this review. But yeah, for the most part, I enjoyed Raw last night, so that is the one positive thing that I can say. I felt like, there wasn't really too much filler on this episode. We had championship matches. We had stakes for the Roadblock show. We had hints of potential matches that we could see at the upcoming Roadblock pay-per-view. So, guys, if you're watching in the live chat, let me know, what did you think of Raw last night? And I look forward to reading your comments. So without further ado, what's the best way to kick off this edition of Monday Night Raw from Charlotte, North Carolina? It's, of course, with the gift of Jericho, man. Kevin Owens, Chris Jericho, the highlight reel. Jericho comes down with the Universal Champion. They pretty much talk about how Americans, why we stuff ourselves with food, why we spend $60 on a crappy flat-screen TV and trample each other to death. And Owens and Jericho talk about why they are thankful that, they're best friends in the world. And Jericho talks about, his cool $750 scarf that has anchors on it because Owens and Jericho are the anchors of Raw. I like that little comment from Jericho. And Jericho talks about the fact that how he interfered last week on Raw, and he said that actually it wasn't Jericho interfering last week on Raw. It was actually Sin Cara wearing a Chris Jericho mask. And it's the mask of Jericho. You got to try it on, man. That was another funny line from Jericho. Eventually, Roman Reigns would come out. And thankfully, they kept his dialogue here to a minimum, So this pretty much led to the setting up of a match between Reigns versus Owens, and you all knew how this was going to go because if Reigns won, he would face Kevin Owens for the Universal Championship at Roadblock. It was what it was. I like the stuff between Owens and Jericho for the most part. The problem I have with the Reigns-Owens announcement of the match is the fact that we already knew that this match was taking place at Roadblock. The announcements have been made for a while now. They've been running ads in the Pittsburgh area. We know it's going to be Owens versus Reigns for the Universal Championship. And to just know that going into it, it kind of fell flat. It was like, well, we obviously know Reigns is going to win this because of the announcements made. We knew that Chris Jericho was going to be fighting Seth Rollins, I believe, possibly in a street fight at Roadblock. So yeah, I wasn't too enamored with Owens versus Reigns later on in the night. But I did enjoy the banter between Jericho. Eventually, backstage, Jericho and Owens got into another scuffle. Actually, Jericho asked, Owens, why did you tell him to shut up? And, this kind of perturbed Jericho. And eventually he said, Owens, you can do this on your own, and I'm out of here. So this is what I'm interested in. We can get through, okay, I'll deal with it. Reigns versus Owens, one match at Roadblock, move on. The thing I'm looking forward to long-term down the line is possibly at the Royal Rumble, going into that pay-per-view, we could see a feud between the eventual split, the inevitable split. It will happen. But I think they're saving that for the Royal Rumble, which is smart. You want to load up that show in the Alamo Dome. Kevin Owens defending his Universal Championship versus Chris Jericho. I think that would be a smart feud. I thought they might have it at Roadblock, but okay, we do this thing with Reigns, get this business done, out of the way with. then go into the feud, the eventual split that we all know is coming between Owens and Jericho. And while it's predictable that they will split, I am not, in this case, predictability ain't a bad thing. This is actually something that I want to see happen, and I do look forward to that happening later on down the line. After this, we had our first match of the evening. It was Braun Strowman taking on R-Truth. Now, when I saw R-Truth out there, I'm like, please just make this short, sweet, to the point. And when I heard Braun Strowman's music, I was like, thank the fucking Lord Almighty. So Braun gets down there. He clears house, beats the holy hell out of R-Truth, hits the running power slam for the win. Afterwards, Strowman begins to choke out Goldust. Eventually, Sami Zayn eventually runs down to the ring trying to make the heroic save. Eventually, the referees hit, and Strowman tries to set up Sami for the tray of woe, but Mick Foley comes down to the ring, says enough is enough, and then we come back from commercial break. And then Foley says, Zayn's getting upset. He's frustrated. He's like, I know you're trying to protect me and whatnot, but you're pretty much acting, this is what Zayn's saying, as Stephanie's puppet. And, Foley, you've clearly forgotten who, he is, who Sami Zayn is, and he doesn't need to be saved, from Braun Strowman. Sami can go in there, as he said, and take down this monster of a man. And, Foley is getting more and more perturbed at Sami. He eventually says, Stephanie does not like you, Sami. But the fact that, Foley made the match last week, that was your punishment for not bringing the IC title back to Raw. But Foley said you'll never be able to beat Braun Strowman because Braun Strowman is a monster. And Zayn pretty much said to Mick, Mick, you were my hero growing up, and you pretty much defied the odds. And pretty much that when Sami looks at Mick Foley, he says, you're just a hypocrite now, Mick. And I thought this was a really strong segment. It made me more interested in seeing Sami Zayn try and conquer the unstoppable Braun Strowman. This is a feud that I'm actually interested in. Finally doing something with Sami Zayn. Thank you very much. And I look forward to seeing where it goes. This frustration from Sami Zayn. Maybe it'll lead to a trade to SmackDown Live. I'm not sure. We will have to see. But I'm certainly interested in seeing where this goes. After this, we had Cedric Alexander in his hometown of Charlotte, North Carolina, versus Tony Nese. Decent match. Just the thing that hurt it was lack of time. Really no storylines, outside of the championship feud on the Cruiserweight division. Cedric got a great reaction, but of course, as you know, WWE likes to do, Cedric lost to Tony Nese with a fairly sloppy-looking pump handle slam for the win. So I am a fan of Tony Nese. I would have rather seen Alexander get the win. He had some momentum going into this match, being in his hometown. And what I'd like to see more from the Cruiserweights, seeing as how they're going to be on Raw in the future. Give them more time. It's a 3-hour show. There is no excuse for not giving these guys enough time. At least 2 matches on Raw. You carry that over onto 205 Live. But at least give them interview time after the match to allow them to elaborate on who they are, why they're fighting, what they want to go after, preferably the Cruiserweight Championship. Stuff ain't hard to do. Just give the audience reason to care, because if you're not going to, and they're doing toned-down matches, it's just nobody's going to care. And I don't want to see that from the Cruiserweights, because I know that they can go out there and captivate an audience like they did in the CWC. So tonight, I really look forward to seeing what goes down on 205 Live. After this, we had actually Jericho. He was going to his car, and eventually his limo, and Seth Rollins would eventually blindside him, attack Jericho, throw him around into cars, into the metal, what do you call it, the barricade, not the barricade, I can't even think of the word, but if you saw the segment, you know what I mean. Rollins is throwing Jericho around, eventually gets Jericho on top of a car and pedigrees Chris Jericho. I like this. We don't really see this too often on Raw, a backstage parking lot brawl, and I wish we'd get more of these backstage segments like they used to do back in the day in the Attitude Era. It really created a sense of unpredictability. And, I'm looking more forward to Seth Rollins versus Chris Jericho at Roadblock than Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns. So that really goes to say right there. But, yeah, I like that. I liked the scuffle between Rollins and Jericho on the show. We eventually had what was supposed to be our women's championship match. The action got underway. Eventually, Charlotte and Sasha Banks were thrown over into the barricade, and Sasha and Charlotte were both counted out. So that led to, a double countout situation. But eventually Mick Foley came down to the ring, and he announced that, no, this is not how the match is going to happen. And, in fact, we are going to restart this match, and it'll take place later on tonight in the main event of Raw. So I kind of knew where they were going. They must have had something big saved for the main event ending, and this would have been the second time this year that the women have gone on last on Raw. So while I'll save my thoughts for Sasha and Charlotte at the end of this review, seeing as how we do come back to them by the end. Eventually, after this, we move on to Rusev versus Enzo Amore again. Enzo and Cass come down. Huge, great reaction. Kind of Thanksgiving-themed promo before the match. Eventually, Rusev kicks Enzo below the belt, and that leads to Rusev getting disqualified. So your winner of this match is Enzo. I still think we're going to see a Rusev versus Big Cass match. At the Roadblock show, I'd like to see more done in the build-up to this feud. Like I said, it started between Rusev getting jealous that his wife saw naked Enzo Amore. That was certainly a unique way to kick off this feud. But we'll have to see what they do in the coming weeks. I think Rusev and Big Cass can go out there and have a good match. But I want to see more done in this build-up to the feud in order to get me to care. So right now I'm just like, okay, they're going to fight. Might be a good match, but it is what it is. We eventually had Rich Swann versus Noam Dar. Not a bad match. Average, solid match. I thought, put a nice spotlight on Rich Swann to shine. I wish they got a little bit more time, than they got here, but Swann was able to hit a spin kick that looked really sick, hits Noam Dar right in the jaw, and Rich Swann builds momentum heading into his Cruiserweight Championship match tonight on 205 Live against the Brian Kendrick, so I look forward to Rich Swann getting that opportunity. Eventually, Rich Swann, this is the thing I liked. They had him cut a promo after the match saying, talking about him going after the Cruiserweight Championship, how he's going to take that title from the Brian Kendrick. Do this more with Cruiserweights, allow them to establish their personalities and identities, and, why and what they are fighting for, and perhaps that'll give the crowd a reason to care. I really like this segment between Sheamus and Cesaro at the bar. Like I said, a different segment, something that is completely separated from being in the ring, doing matches. We just see too much. It's a promo, match, repeat. Promo, match, repeat. Promo, match, repeat. Now, on this show, we actually changed it up a little bit. We got parking lot brawl. We got this bar segment, which I loved it. I loved everything about this. Sheamus and Cesaro were pretty much sitting at a bar talking about, how they came so close to being the New Day for the tag titles, and, how if they could get on the same page, they would be the most unstoppable team in WWE. And eventually these guys were egging them on, nagging them on, saying blah, 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 you're not really all you're talked up to be. And so Sheamus and Cesaro decided, well, let's just kick the crap out of these guys, and eventually they threw one of the guys through the wall, and it was great. And afterwards, it down to a pint of Guinness beer. So this was really, really good stuff. I really want to see more of this just spontaneity, change of pace from a show that badly needs it. If we could get more of this going forward, I'd be all for it. We had Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens. No real surprise here. A lot of rest holds early on in this match, but it felt like to me Reigns and Owens were holding back in this match. Obviously saving for their roadblock encounter. Roman Reigns did pick up the win in this match after Owens tried to he kneed Reigns in the head, eventually hit the ropes, and ran right into the spear. And Roman Reigns became your new number one contender for the Universal Championship. It's okay, whatever. I can deal with it. Like I said, as long as we can eventually move past that and get to the Jericho-Owens feud, I can deal with. I'm not going to care about Reigns versus Owens. That does nothing for me. But I'll watch the match. It'll probably be a good match. But to me, there's no emotional investment for me going into this match. So as long as you keep it one and done and move on from there after Roadblock, all right. We had this really great sit-down interview with Michael Cole talking to Paul Heyman. Heyman looked distraught. He looked upset. He looked pissed. He said that pretty much Lesnar took Goldberg lightly. Him and Lesnar took Goldberg very lightly. And he said, once Goldberg speared Brock, it broke his ribs. It was over. And he said, Brock has dealt with loss before, but this is embarrassment on a whole nother level. And Heyman dropped the bombshell in this interview. He said, Lesnar is going to be in the Royal Rumble match. And come January 29th, all hell is pretty much going to break loose when two unstoppable forces, Goldberg and Brock Lesnar, are going to be in the Royal Rumble match. So this was great. Heyman at his finest, just the look of upset and, how Heyman, his eyes, they told a great story and his words, just the way he cut this promo, one of the best, and got me excited for the Royal Rumble come January 29th. So I can't wait to see what they have planned on that day. We had our tag team title match, the New Day versus Gallows and Anderson. A pretty solid match between these two. Probably one of the better ones, if not the best that I've seen these two have. Their Clash match, it was okay. Their SummerSlam match was a huge disappointment. But I thought this was a pretty good match. Nice back and forth tag action. I really thought, Anderson and Gallows, early on, they came out swinging in this match. They really caught New Day off guard, and it looked like they might be going for the early victory. Eventually, New Day was able to get back into it towards the end of the match. Big E hit that, scary suicide, or not, the spear through the ropes. I really hate every time he does that because I'm afraid that eventually, he's going to get hurt doing that. He's going to blow out a shoulder. But eventually, Anderson and Gallows, they hit a very nice powerbomb, top rope neck breaker combo for a 2 count. They eventually set up for the Magic Killer, but Big E was able to break that up. Eventually, Anderson tried to get Woods in the fireman's carry. Woods was able to get out of that, and as Anderson was pulling the tights on Xavier Woods, Woods was able to reverse, and he pulled the tights as well. So once again, New Day using subvertive tactics. Is this possibly foreshadowing a heel turn for the New Day? It's the second week in a row now that they've used devious tactics to retain their titles. I don't know if it's going to be a full-blown heel turn or perhaps just tweaking their characters. But maybe, I think they would beat Demolition's record on December, let me see. I want to say the 13th, but I could be wrong. So we still have 2 more editions of Raw to go. I mean, one scenario that I laid out is you could possibly have them lose the titles the day before that they were supposed to beat the record, and that just causes them to snap and go off the deep end. But yeah, guys, let me know down in the comment section below what you think of a possible New Day heel turn being foreshadowed, and how much longer do you see them breaking the record? Because I think at this point, they're going to break the record, and they will most likely drop the titles at the Roadblock pay-per-view here in Pittsburgh. Eventually, we had Bayley backstage, she wanted to wish Charlotte good luck in her match against Sasha Banks. And we had our main event. For the second time, these two went out there, and they had a tremendous main event. Falls Count Anywhere match between Charlotte and Sasha Banks. What more can you say? These girls, they have great chemistry with one another. They put it all on the line. And they took it out into the stands, up into the crowd, went up the stairs. Sasha used kendo sticks on Charlotte. Charlotte did a crazy moonsault off the announcer's table onto Sasha. The level of effort and work was there in the ring. The thing that hurt this for me was, really the fact that, okay, we're doing this again. I thought, the feud should have culminated and been blown off inside Hell in a Cell, but no, we're doing another match between these two. I just don't want to see these two continue to fight and fight and fight, and I become fatigued and just don't care about these two fighting anymore. We've seen them have a number of good matches, but I think it is time to give this feud a rest and truly move Sasha and Charlotte on to different things. Now, the thing about this that surprised me was the fact that Sasha had Charlotte she had Sasha headfirst on the metal railing, locked in the bank statement, and Charlotte tapped out. And we have, for the third time, this title has changed between Sasha and Charlotte. Sasha is a 3-time women's champion, and I hope that this doesn't lead to Charlotte getting a rematch at Roadblock and beating Sasha. I do not want to see that. Put the title on Sasha, have her hold the title till WrestleMania, and give her a number of challenges. I've already laid it down. Have her and Nia. That could be the next feud. Looked like they were going for that. Have Nia challenge Sasha for the title. You have Emma coming back. Have Emma challenge Sasha for the title. Then you build to Sasha versus Bayley. That's where Bayley beats Sasha for the title. There. And hell, you could bring Mickie James back. Have Mickie challenge Sasha for the title. There are a number of options that WWE can do if they want to. And you can move Charlotte on to, feuding with Bayley. Maybe over that number 1 contendership or whatnot. I don't know. Well, maybe not, because then you get my idea. There's Sasha and Nia Jax. You do Charlotte Bayley. They could have a nice feud with one another. But yeah, I just want to see this be the end of Charlotte and Sasha for a while now. Cool it down and come back to it in a while. Just give us time to breathe. And please just don't have Sasha just win the title just to lose it right back to Charlotte. So if you do that, it's like, really? For the third time now? It's just like, it's been done to death. But really good main event match, and that's what I hope to see going forward from the Raw Women's Division. But yeah, guys, that is it for my live Raw review. I want to say thank you for all who tuned in to watch this live. Like I said, let me know down in the comments section below what you all thought of Raw. And, yeah, remember, I will be back up here later on tonight for my live SmackDown review, the final SmackDown before the TLC pay-per-view on Sunday, December 4th. This week, I will be back up here with my TLC preview and predictions video, seeing as how the pay-per-view is already upon us. I will have a TLC review up probably that following Monday because I'm working that evening, so I will not be able to watch the pay-per-view live. I'll have to watch it the day after, so that'll be that. Look forward to that. And yeah, remember to please click my like and subscribe button for more video content coming soon to this channel. And be on the lookout for me in my next video, guys. So that is it, guys. Thank you for tuning in. And thanks for watching.